All right, today we're jumping headfirst into the very unique philosophy of Master Chon Gong. We're going to explore his vision for public servants, for society, and for a future that he believes is already knocking on our door. This gets into everything from your own career path to the entire purpose of a nation.
So, this whole thing kicks off with a question that was put to Master Chon Kenyang, a question I think a lot of us can relate to. What do you do when you feel completely stuck in your job? This simple, honest question is the key that unlocks his entire worldview. Let's see how he unpacks it.
Now, Master Chon Gong's response isn't your typical career advice. Not at all. He basically flips the whole problem on its head by asking a much bigger question first. What even is a public office? And his answer is, well, it's not what you'd expect.
So get this. He says public service isn't just a job, it's a school. The people's taxes are essentially tuition, funding a place where officials are supposed to study society. And every promotion, that's not just a new title. It's like moving up to the next grade with new lessons to learn, new people to meet, and a whole new environment to understand.
So if you follow that logic, what happens when you hit a wall and can't get promoted anymore? It doesn't mean you've failed. Master Chon Gong argues it actually means your studies are done. It's a sign that it's time to graduate and take everything you've learned out into the real world, instead of just staying put and stagnating.
Okay, so what's next after you graduate? This is where things get really interesting, because it leads to this huge shift in how we're supposed to think about work itself. Master Chon Gong draws a really sharp line between the work of the past and the work of the future.
This slide just lays it all out, doesn't it? The past was the era of the enterprise, or GUP in Korean. This was all about growth, making money, expanding your organization. He says that era is over. The future belongs to business, or PSYOP, and it's totally different. It's about applying what you know to serve the public good, to help people, to focus on humanity.
And he's not just saying this is a nice idea. No, he makes this absolutely wild claim. He states that in this new era, if you try to build an old-style enterprise, you are going to fail 100% of the time. But on the flip side, if you start a true business with the real goal of serving others, you are guaranteed to succeed 100%.
So you're probably asking, okay, what exactly is a true business then? Well, according to Master Chon Gong, there are really only three categories that are going to define our future. He says that welfare, education, and culture are the fields where all the economic power and all the respect from society are going to flow from now on. He even takes it a step further. He basically says that everything we've done so far in these fields, that was just practice. You know, the warm-up act. The real, deeply impactful work in welfare and education, the kind that's truly going to change people's lives, he believes it hasn't even started yet.
So how on earth do you start one of these world-changing businesses? You might think you need a killer business plan or tons of investor money, right? He says, nope, that's not where you start. It all begins with something much more fundamental, a true ideology.
And he's super clear about what he means here. This isn't your personal logic or some clever strategy for your own gain. A true ideology, in his view, is a grand, selfless purpose. It's a mission that is pointed completely outward, dedicated to helping society, humanity, and the natural world.
This slide just captures his model perfectly. Look at the flow of power. It doesn't start with money. It starts with the ideology. You establish that grand purpose first. And if it's real, if it's genuine, it acts like a magnet. It naturally pulls in talented people who believe in that same vision. Only then, once the right people are gathered for the right reasons, does the economic power flow in to make it a reality. The order is absolutely crucial.
Now, once you understand that framework, ideology first, then people, then resources, Master Chon Gong uses it to launch this really sharp critique of our modern leaders and institutions.
I mean, just listen to that. That's a powerful statement. He's arguing that just because you occupy a certain position doesn't mean you're actually fulfilling its purpose. It's a critique of empty titles, of people who are just warming the seats of power without ever truly being leaders. And he takes that same logic all the way to the top, to the highest office in the land. He asks a question that just cuts through all the usual political debate.
His answer is so simple, but it's also profound. The single true qualification for a president, he says, is the ability to genuinely love and cherish the people. That's it. He believes that if a leader has this quality, everything else is secondary because the people will naturally rally behind them.
He expands this critique to so many of our core institutions, and he uses this really strong term, organizational cartels. His point is that whether it's a political party, the police, or even a religious group, many of them started with a noble purpose. But over time, they've just become focused on protecting themselves, on serving the organization itself, and they've lost sight of the people they were created to help in the first place.
But this critique isn't just him complaining about the state of the world. No, it leads directly to his final point, a big prediction about a massive, unavoidable shift in society that he believes is already happening.
He actually lays out a specific timeline. He marks 2013 as the definitive end of that old era of growth. He predicts this great change really begins in 2025, with 2026 being a critical turning point, a Byeongokjeom, that then leads to a major time of reckoning in 2027. And here's the real kicker. He believes this transformation isn't just social or political, he frames it as a natural law. He argues that in this new era, if you act with selfish greed, the universe itself is going to correct you. The forces of nature, he claims, will directly intervene to bring things back into balance.
And all of this brings us to one final, really challenging question. If the future is truly going to be built on having a grand ideology for the public good, not just for personal ambition, then what is yours? What purpose will you serve after your graduation?